Alex Eubank does not love bodybuilding at all. He likes it a little bit because of what it gives him. I'm going to argue that Chris Bumstead and Sam Sulek didn't love bodybuilding as much as me. And hear me why. People are going to say that's crazy.
Wow. I'm absolutely Gregging my Doucette over here.
Well, that's good to hear. That's how it should be done.
You were explaining to me, and I wanted to get this on the show. Your response to caffeine after taking a month off was like a massive like psychoactive experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's watching me have this Mountain Dew. I'm like, this is the first caffeine of the day. And I'm like, yeah, I hardly need it anymore. And before I used to drink a gram minimum of caffeine a day. I was having like 3 massive coffees for breakfast every day. And then I went on a month detox. I said, I'm going to do this experiment and see what it's like. And it was hard the first several days. I had headaches. I go to the gym, had no motivation. But by the end of the month, I felt kind of normal again. The workouts were good. And then I said, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to have a half a scoop of my pre-workout instead of like I would do double scoops and barely feel it. Half a scoop, I'm recording a video and I literally felt high. I had this massive surge of dopamine. Like I felt so good. I was like, oh my God, like if you've never done a drug before and you had that feeling, you would be addicted. Like it was that good of a feeling. And since that time, I never had to take the same amount of caffeine ever again. I typically take no caffeine whatsoever until pre-workout, and I just use it to enhance my like bike session or my lifting session in the gym.
Caffeine is probably my favorite drug as far as like, over the counter, you could take the drug, you could feel it working right then and there. It's hard to say that. You can't really say that about creatine. You can't really say that about protein. You can't say that about BCAAs. So that's why it's like, I've always been like a big fan of caffeine. However, I think that a very underrated part of any of these drugs that help you work out or whatever is the dopamine release. And I think if you can like kind of cleanse yourself of that and get that feeling of dopamine, you can have a crazy good workout. I think that in my experience in weightlifting, in Olympic weightlifting, that's what it's all about, is creating the environment to where you can try really hard. Big Friday is a thing. So we go heavy on Fridays. That's like kind of, your training leads up to this big moment on Friday. Maybe then the following day you do some strength training, some accessory work, and then you restart again. And that big Friday, you could go to a buddy's gym who's across town and you lift with them. You get the music turned up. It's all like little dopamine levels that'll help you have a great session, but you can't do that every time. And so what you were kind of explaining to me is like, there's another way you can do that chemically.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to leverage caffeine to help you do things that you want in life. Now, the 2 times I can think of is to try to get a girl or to try to go to the gym and enjoy something like working out. And so if you take your girlfriend out and you give her some coffee and you have an experience with her, it's going to feel better. They're going to attribute that feeling, that dopamine from being around you. And so best thing you can do for a gift, it's not chocolate. That'd be not too bad. Not flowers, but caffeine. Like it's really a legal drug that you can give that will increase the way you feel. And if you take it before the gym, you're going to have a more positive experience in the gym. You're going to like it more and you're going to want to do it more. And so why waste your caffeine on helping you to get up in the morning? You're going to get up anyway. The sun's going to be out. You're going to eventually wake up. And so why take it first thing in the morning? I'm dating a girl, Mepsigram, Marie. She's an eye surgeon and she's on 2 grande every morning. It's got 330 milligrams of caffeine per. That's 660. That's to get her up in the morning. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you going to surgery and like, are you shaking?
I wanted to get into this discussion with you today. I wanted to have you on today because I feel like in the last couple weeks, we've kind of come to this point, especially with like the Alex Eubank thing. And my thesis around this is like, you're definitely a part of this. Derek's been a part of this. The whole online community has been a part of the fake natty callouts. And the biggest resounding answer to it is just be honest about your drug use. And what I've been saying for a while is like, that's not the answer that we think it is. And so we're kind of seeing it now with Alex Eubank. He's just being honest. He's being honest about his use. He's being honest. But is he being honest about why he's using? Or, does that make sense? And I feel like I wanted to talk to you about this because one, your experience with drugs, but also you've been commenting on this stuff as well.
Well, for Alex, I believe him 100% in what he's saying right now. Now, but before that, I do think he was a fake natty, and I don't blame him. I think that it's so much pressure to do this, but I don't believe he was 100% natural his whole life. I do think he started by taking MK677, and I do believe that previous to this, he was taking clomiphene. His testosterone levels were 933 nanograms per deciliter, after previously being at 250, 450, somewhere in that range. Max, I think he said he was at 600 in his life. And suddenly he was at 933. Now, let's assume he was on enclomiphene and then he stopped. He's no longer going to feel that super physiological increased testosterone level. He would have felt great while on enclomiphene. And then you take that away, and then suddenly you don't feel like you were. And if you look at his physique, it hasn't progressed in the last several years. He actually made amazing gains as a teenager. Then suddenly it stopped. And why would that be? Well, if he was on MK677 or other growth hormone secretagogues, peptides, and so on, he would have seen that exponential growth as a teen. Then it would have suddenly slowed down. So he would have gotten that excessive amount of dopamine from seeing that physique change, all the views and notoriety he got on Instagram and YouTube. And then suddenly it stops. And then, of course, you're going to want to use testosterone. He wasn't making any progress. As long as you're making progress, I think you're going to enjoy it. And so because of that, I think he then took HRT.
I don't care if what Alex Eubank does. It's not for me. But I imagine that whoever he is for, like I genuinely worry about that person. Because like, again, like you said, if you stop making progress, if you stop, and this makes me think more about like, what is fitness to me? What is it to the world? And if I look at you personally now, Greg, I feel like your interaction with fitness on your own personal journey, it seems to be a very healthy and very mature one. Like yesterday, you're like, I've got a big bike race at 3:30, and you look forward to that, and you look forward to your health and fitness in that way. It's not necessarily about progress. You can challenge yourself and certain things like of that nature, but that took a lot of time to mature into that. And what I worry about is if Alex Eubank is just pursuing gains and flexing into the camera and all of this, and the next stop at 25 years old has to be steroids because he's not making any progress, because this, and it's like, well, what is a kid going to see? Like, they're just naturally going to be like, oh, well, I can go within 20 minutes. He said, I got my blood test done. Within 20 minutes, I got my testosterone readout and they were injecting me. In 20 minutes.
I contacted Transcend, who I'm partnered with, and I said, is this normal to give somebody testosterone within 20 minutes? They said, absolutely not. Somebody in their 20s, they said, what they would have done if they needed it, would they have started them on HEG and enclomiphene. They said there's no way you want to put somebody on testosterone for the rest of their life in their mid-20s if they don't actually need it. Now, if he had gone in with testosterone levels of 100 or something like that and would have needed it, then that would have made sense. But for a guy who's been ranging between 933, which is borderline super physiological, like that's almost abnormally high, to 350, it's like, dude, and you look at his physique. Does it look like he's hypogonadal? He looks amazing. He has the Greek god look. Right. 99% of guys, that's the physique they want. And so he didn't need anything.
So what I'm saying is like, how do we make it so, or do we even give a shit about this when you have guys just running around being like, I injected steroids, my life got better.
Yeah. With Alex, if he didn't have 1 million followers or more, all looking up to him because he kept promoting to stay natural and then suddenly jump ship and do the exact opposite. Now he's hanging around with Togi. He's gambling and everything, being a Christian guy. That message to 1 million people who are perhaps having low self-esteem, low self-worth, they see Alex and they're like, well, he has a way better physique than me. And he needed HRT. So now I want it. And so I don't think he's doing anything wrong for himself. It's just that with his presence on social media and being so influential to millions of people, there's without question thousands of kids out there, teenagers and so on, that are going to copy him. And so I feel he has basically a moral responsibility to care about this. Now, Togi is just like, whatever. But from day one, Togi's been Togi. He's just right. I use steroids, use it. And that's his thing. That's his shtick. But Alex, it was like, don't do it. Be natural. You guys, I'm the last natty left. And then all of a sudden he jumped ship. And so that is so much more promotion of steroids than somebody else. And so that's the only thing I don't like it. If he had to come out and said, I'm on 200 milligrams a test because I have low self-esteem, low self-worth. People have been bullying about how small I am, that I have a mid physique. They're not glazing me the way they used to, and I'm hopping on. But don't do it. There's something wrong with me. I don't have the self-esteem.
And
I think that's okay. That's being honest.
right, but fine. And I think actually like that would be crazy if he said that. I
I
don't
would
think
love
there's
that. That's what I
yeah.
want. That would be
But
honest and transparent.
my thing, Greg, is do all the roads lead to steroids? Is that where we're at? If you're a fitness influencer from when you're a teenager, you have a great body, you've worked really hard, your progress kind of stalls a little bit. What are your options?
For everyone, it's going to stall. And I mean, I am not a hypocrite. I did every single mistake that all these kids did. I did the ego lifting. I took steroids. I abused steroids. I was on all the drugs, wasn't getting monitored by a doctor and doing things recklessly. But eventually I got older and looked back and was like, okay, I made some big mistakes. And I'm trying to share people all the mistakes that I made. And people are like, oh, how can you talk about this? I'm like, who is better to talk about this than somebody who was once in their shoes? I had a great natural physique. I ended up taking steroids. I didn't need to. My natural physique is probably better than most people on steroids. And so why did I need it? But I just felt that pressure to keep getting better. I wanted a pro card. But then I look back and you look at the negative health consequences. It's like, you will have regrets when you're older. So why not listen to me? I've been in your shoes. Like if you're an 18-year-old kid listening right now, I was once you. I was once 18. I once wanted everything that you had. And looking back, it was a mistake for me. But at least I waited until I was in my 30s. If these guys are Chris Bumstead's on steroids at 18 and wins 6 Mr. Olympia titles, he's retired at 29. I didn't even start taking steroids till I was older than Chris. So
yes, that's
fun, like
this. Yeah, so we're at a place where, and I was thinking about this. What's the equivalent for women? And the
breast
equivalent
implants.
is yeah, fillers, implants, all of these things that back in the early 2000s or even late 90s were very rare to get. And if you did get them, it was probably late 30s, maybe 40s. But now, I mean, a lot of women who are over 18, it's like fillers are normal. And I think even just saying this right now, a lot of women are going to be like, yeah, so what? It's like, well, I don't know if this is the right example here, but there's this term called the ship of Theseus.
Oh, I don't know this one. No.
So basically, it leaves one port and goes to the next port, and they take out a piece of wood from the boat and replace it with another one. And by the time it gets to the other port, every piece of wood has been replaced. Is it the same ship? And you can look at that and be like, well, no, it isn't. But it happens so gradually that nobody really stopped and was like, hey, we're on a different ship now. And so what we're looking at with steroids is like every year that goes by, the idea of, oh, use steroids goes down. And I when I talked about this Alex Eubank thing, I pulled up the video that Jeff Nipper did and Mike was in it. And Mike said, if you are a very serious person doing very serious training, the youngest you should go is 25 years old to start taking steroids. You tell a 24-year-old, only take steroids if you're very serious. You think that 24-year-old is going to be like, oh, I'm not that serious. Of course they're going to be like, yeah, I am serious about this. I do want to get better. I'm going to take steroids. Like you said, Chris Bumstead is done bodybuilding at 29 years old. And wasn't like Levrone, what's his name? Levrone? Wasn't he like in his 40s or some shit?
Well, Dexter Jackson, I think he won his last pro show at 49 or 50.
Holy shit. It is like if you're serious and you're 18 or 19 and you want to partake in this sport and you want to be Chris Bumstead and you want to be this, you probably should consider hopping on gear.
I'm going to make an argument, and this is why I turned pro at 35. My argument is they don't love it. Alex Eubank does not love bodybuilding at all. He likes it a little bit because of what it gives him. I'm going to argue that Chris Bumstead and Sam Sulek didn't love bodybuilding as much as me, and hear me why. People are going to say that's crazy. Wow. I liked it so much that I was willing to only make 3 or 4 pounds of muscle gains for years, sacrificing the physique that I knew I could have, sacrificing knowing that if I took steroids at 22, I probably could have turned pro by 25. I had a really good physique, and I was able to train and love it, even though my gains were very, very slow. When Chris Bumstead started taking steroids at 18, of which he admits he put on like 30 pounds of muscle in that first year. Do you know how easy it is to love bodybuilding when you're putting on 30 pounds of muscle? Do you know how easy it is to love bodybuilding when you're the freaking Mr. Olympia champion? C-Bum loves it because he's so freaking good at it. But he retired at 29. If he loved it, he wouldn't retire. And if you loved it enough, couldn't you do it natural? Sam Sulek, he's 23. He hasn't done a show, so I don't even think he's a bodybuilder. He trains like a bodybuilder. To me, a bodybuilder sets foot on stage. Until he gets up on stage, he's a fitness enthusiast. He likes working out. If you love it, you can do it natural. I coached a kid. His name's Hussein Farhat. He got 7 medals in his first show. He's only been training 3 years. He loves it because he loves it enough to not take the steroids. That takes more courage than anything. Anyone like the Trend Twins can take the easy way out. We love bodybuilding so much. We want it. And you hop on steroids. If you loved it, you could train natural till you're 25 or older, get your natural genetic limit, and then take steroids, which is what I did. Once I couldn't get any more gains out of me, I did everything perfectly. I was in my 30s. Then I started to take steroids. I had nowhere else to go. I competed 42 times natural. And so all these guys saying, yeah, I give Sam Sulek the pass, Chris Bumstead this pass. I'm like, how should they get the pass more than Jack's fit?
I mean, it's an easy answer. Here's why, because they're good and people like it. It's simple.
That's exactly what people say.
It's not, this is, look, it's a double standard, but this is what happens in the world. Fitness, and Greg, this is the most underrated thing you've ever said in any of your videos. I'm telling you right here, right now, is when you did the natty or nots, or you started calling people out on shit, you always talked about how good looking are they? Always. It was like V-Shred. We were talking shit. You're talking shit about V-Shred. You go,
extremely good looking.
He's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Good looking guy. So nothing else matters. And this is what hurts me, because I don't know how long I am for the fitness industry. Maybe my perspective can change. And I know that I'm consistently being goaded by my own audience to stay involved. But the reality is, man, it is about being good looking and good. And everything else kind of doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
Because people look at fitness as a side thing. You know, I'm going to work 9 to 5. Hopefully I can take a C4, you know, and then go to the gym and hit chest and triceps. Hopefully. But I might have to get home and walk the dog, and then by the time I sit down on the couch, I'll be too tired. That's what fitness is to me as an average human. So I'm not going to look at the ins and outs of health and fitness. I am going to look at Sam Sulek and be like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. And that's all it is. It's as simple as that. It's archaic. It's caveman-like. And those guys are always going to get a pass. I don't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with that, but it is what it is, you know?
So let me ask you a question. Somebody who's really good, the C-Bums of the world, the Urs, the guys that have the best physiques in the world, it's like, well, it's expected. You're going to take steroids because you could be the Mr. Olympia champion, and it means something. You're going to be a millionaire from it. What about a guy like, do you know Jack's Fit? Jack's Fit is about 18 years old.
Is he the English guy? Yes. Yeah.
6'1". He weighs maybe 125 pounds, 130 pounds. And he's no longer natty. He openly admits he's not natural. He's taking MK677. And I gave him the pass. I said, so hear me out. He is underweight. If you look at his BMI, he's that word that rhymes with Lexia. He's literally that by definition, based on his body weight. He's not healthy in terms of how lean he is. He's too small, and he couldn't get the calories in. He couldn't eat for whatever reason. He took MK, put on 10 pounds in a month. He said, I have my appetite, and it's working for him. And so I'm arguing, I give him the pass just as much as Sam Sulek. Why does Sam Sulek need anything? He already looks freaking amazing. Jack's Fit, does he look amazing? I don't want to thin shame him. But when you look at his physique, when he's 120 pounds at 6'1", you're concerned.
Okay.
So I think he has more right, or just as much a right, to take a steroid as some guy who has a great physique like Alex Eubank.
When you talk about giving the pass and not giving the pass, I mean, the reality is, and I made up an Instagram post about this very recently, and it was a sarcastic post, but we know what fitness is. We know what nutrition is. Like, off the top of my head, it's like, be active every day if you can. 3 to 5 of those days, make that activity count. Make it hard, whether that's cardiovascular, resistance, or both. Eat enough protein to to gain and or sustain muscle mass. I can't repeat that every day because those things are unchanging. Mm-hmm. Those are foundational principles that just have always been here and will always be here. And if everyone knows those and understands those and follows those, there is no reason for the fitness industry to exist because that's all it is. And that's all it ever will be. It's not sexy. It never has been. If that is a universally known thing, which maybe it's not, then what we're looking at is people to motivate us.
Yes.
We are looking at things that help our eyes process those universal facts. And the problem is what we're looking at does not line up with those universal truths. Does not line up whatsoever. This was the biggest issue that I had with the Liver King. Everyone was willing to discredit him the moment we found the emails and we put them out. Because the only reason anyone's watching him is because of his physique that he got not naturally. Because if he really, really meant what he said, he wouldn't have to do any of that. He wouldn't have even made anything public. He wouldn't try, like the idea that you have to be out here doing something to make money off of there is a sense of like a minor amount of charlatanism there. You're guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. It's just levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and I think to define fitness, like what's happening in the fitness industry is fitness influencers don't promote fitness. They promote the appearance or the illusion of what being fit is. And so the Liver King that you just described, he looked really fit. I mean, look at the abs and look at the muscles and how strong he looks, super fit, but yet he's not.
He was very unhealthy. Yeah.
C-Bum's not fit. He has no energy. He has brain fog. Sam Sulek's not fit. They're on these bulk and cut chocolate milk diets. These are not fit people. And when I was an IFBB pro competing and looked enormous, I wasn't fit, but I'm fit now. And so the difference is...
How do we resolve this?
Well, I think there's some guys that promote fitness very well. For example, Will Tennyson and Jesse James. I think these guys are promoting fitness the right way, being natural. As soon as you add the word on steroids and fitness, it doesn't go together. As soon as you're on steroids and obesity are on par. If you take me, a guy who's obese and a guy who's on steroids, and you give me their blood work, they're probably about equal. And so anyone who's on steroids, fat shaming somebody who's fat, you're doing just as bad to your body as a person who's fat. Like if you took 100 people who are overweight and 100 bodybuilders and you say, who's going to live longer? Probably the same.
I think a lot of people who are on steroids would take issue with what you're saying right now.
Because they're coping. They're coping hard.